Peace. My name is Born King of Law and I'm the Executive Director of the National Office of Cultural Affairs. Today I am making a universal statement so as to clarify to the world who the Nation of Gods and Earths are. We are commonly known as the 5% Nation, or some people even call us the 5%ers. So, I am here in my professional capacity as the Executive Director of the National Office of Cultural Affairs. Acronym is NOCA, and we serve as an intermediary for the Nation of Gods and Earths so that any Department of Corrections, news media vehicles, Department of Corrections, criminal justice agencies that might have questions or concerns in regard to who and what we are, I serve in my capacity to verify and give them accurate information as to who we are and also as to who we are not. So just to get started, let me say that the Nation of Gods and Earths is a God-centered culture. So what does that mean? That means that we choose a cultural path to God rather than a religious one that the majority of people here in America have chosen. What the Constitution of the United States of America has declared is that our cultural path is as legitimate as anyone else's religious one. So having said that, that means that when you hear the 5% Nation or the Nation of Gods and Earths, what you hear people talking about is a people's chosen path to the God of their understanding. So, having said that, that means that we are constitutionally protected, which means that our theology, how we love God, how we honor God, is not open for public debate. That means that here in America, everyone has a right to the God of their understanding. When Mitt Romney ran for President of the United States of America against Barack Obama, all media vehicles agreed that his Mormonism, his particular religion, how he sees God, will not be open for public discussion. Hands off of Mormonism. Why? Because everyone has a right to the God of their own understanding. That means that the Nation of Gods and Earths, commonly known as 5%, enjoy the same freedoms. However, it has been a very difficult journey for us here in America. As black people embracing the theology of a black God, the black man being God, we have been met with opposition that should have been theological, but instead has turned into some illogical based name calling that leads people to hate us because people's misconceptions have become front and center in the public square. If you don't know who we are and would like to know, we have a law school in Mecca, and we also have, as I just informed you, the National Office of Cultural Affairs. Why would you go to a European man to get accurate information as to what we stand for, what our theology is or is not? I would ask all people who have thus far declared themselves to be some kind of expert because they wrote a book about the Nation of Gods and Earths to refrain from answering the calls of news media vehicles and others who seek to mischaracterize us. And the reason why I'm making this call to you is to let you know that first and foremost, we speak for ourselves. And we find it rather demeaning and dangerous for you to be allowed to be quoted putting out misinformation that is dangerous to the health and well-being of the nation of gods and earths. Now, what am I talking about? If a newspaper reporter and his editors run a story that engenders hate against this righteous nation, that's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because we are not just a thought or an idea. The nation of gods and earths has 50 years of history here in America. We are not an offshoot of anybody. We are a nation self-defined, founded by Almighty God Allah Himself. Now, you don't have to like that, and you don't have to agree with that. But when I say you don't have to like it, that's fine, because we love it. We understand that God came and He chose us, and that we were wise enough to accept God in the flesh when He came to us and founded this great and glorious nation on October 10th, 1964. We are celebrating our 50th year, and we refuse to be mystified by anybody. Just because you wrote a book, just because you write for a newspaper, doesn't mean that you get to say what you want about us. That's very untrue. The nation of gods and earth speaks for itself very well. Furthermore, we now have the professional capacity to address those who would use our name to shield their own dirty misgivings about us. Defamation of character is a crime that we can take you to civil court about, and we will do so. We will not allow anyone to use facets of our knowledge and combine them with your own tricks to get the majority of the people to fail to let us teach them, because they heard you say on Fox News, Mr. David Webb, that we were some sort of sexist, racist group. That we are not. We have never been that. How is it racist for black people to have a black God? Is it not natural? Is it not as natural as Europeans to have a European God that reflects their identity? Is it not as natural as Chinese people having a God that reflects Chinese people? We are not slaves to religion. You are not the thought police who can dictate to us how we will be defined to the world. And all you wicked wordsmiths who have written your poison-filled books and supplied false information to Wikipedia, so that when people around the world Google the nation of gods and earths and 5%ers and they get that inaccurate information, I say a defamation suit can come to your desk too. The National Office of Cultural Affairs had an edit war with Wikipedia because of the incorrect information found there about our righteous nation. And be careful, gods and earths, because they mix our truth with a lot of their lies. So yes, there will be things said that do reflect some of the truth that we teach. But when they take our truth and combine it with their trick, that's how a lie puts on truth clothing. So what I'm saying today is not a reaction or a response to anybody. It's a universal statement that must be heard so that we can be seen in the proper light. The nation of gods and earths, commonly known as the 5%ers, have never been anti-white nor pro-black. the black nationalists who in the 1960s were very angry at our father and founder, Almighty God Allah, for not being anti-white and pro-black. We have never been a gang, a group, or an organization. Never. We have always been a legitimate path to God for those who chose this path to God. And we chose it because we had a choice given to us by God himself. Now you don't gotta like it, but we love it. But this is America, so you must respect it. Which means you cannot use us to sell newspapers, which are sensational headlines, because a successful businessman / rapper chose to wear our flag. First of all, he wore our flag. That sun, seven, moon, and stars is the universal flag of the nation of gods and earth. So him wearing that flag is our business, not yours. I asked the reporter, I said, Jay-Z is a private citizen at a basketball game with his wife. What made you focus on what he was wearing around his neck? And then what made your editors feel that what he wore around his neck was a story worth putting on the front page? What are you talking about? What is your real agenda? Is your agenda to make basic people in society think that my flag is a symbol of hate? Because if that was your motive, I'm going to tell you now, my flag has never been a symbol of hate. Ask the Lindsay administration in New York City, Mr. New York Post editor, Mr. Rupert Murdoch. Mayor Lindsay made sure that those flags were provided for the righteous young men who had qualified themselves to receive it. Why did Mayor Lindsay work so closely with our father and founder, Almighty God Allah, who first y'all should be thanking for his service in the Korean War? We teach the human families of the planet Earth. That's our duty. So what are we anti? We are anti-devilishment. And what is devilishment? Is you trying to make a righteous people unrighteous. That's devilishment. Okay? God does good. A devil does devilishment. What devilishment have you done today? Ask yourself that question. The nation of gods and earths is all about loving God. God is at the center of our life. Everything that we say and do each and every day in each and every way must be in accord with God's righteousness. We must tell the truth. It is our mandate. We have a catechism which is very similar to that in the Catholicism, in that it is a catechism, meaning that it is 120 questions and answers. But before we deal with that, we deal with the introspective journey into ourselves, where we discover the knowledge of ourselves. Because our Father gave us the keys. He gave us supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets, so that we could think on a higher level of consciousness and use a language of truth that is God's language. Truth is God's language, not a lie. And when God speaks his truth, the lie is defeated. So all you mass media vehicles that have been telling lies, trying to use one black man against a nation, or perhaps your motive all along was to attack two things with one stone. you got to attack Jay-Z, and you got to attack the flag of the Nation of Gods and Earths. You falsely claim that the flag of the Nation of Gods and Earths was a representation of hate. So then why should any businessman do any further business with Jay-Z as he was wearing that flag? That is slander. That's just like the cross for a Christian, or the Star of David for a Jew. That flag is the universal flag of the Nation of Gods and Earths. It is not something that you can denigrate and get away with it. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about we will hold you responsible for the words that you use that put us in danger. If you have in the public square declared that our flag represents a hate group, then you have put us in danger. You need to retract those statements because they're incorrect. And it doesn't matter who you were quoting. If you quoted a Harvard graduate who wrote a book, you still quoted him. You should have checked your sources to see if it was correct. At the end of the day, and at the beginning of the day, the Nation of Gods and Earths must do everything right and exact, which means even address issues and concerns that put our children, our women, our grandmothers, grandfathers, and great-grandchildren in jeopardy. We must address even that righteously, which is the reason for my statement. Hear me and hear me well. We have never been anti-white. Regardless to what we have suffered here in America, what our forefathers have suffered here in America for over 400 years, being boiled in oil, castrated, babies ripped out of mothers' wombs, considered 3/5 human in the Constitution of the United States of America. How dare you call us a hate group? How dare you? That's adding insult to injury. You're so quick to say what you don't understand that comes from black people, racist. But we have to prove your state of mind when you commit racist acts. You can walk up and down and be paraded on the television with pictures of our beloved president with a bone in his nose, but we can't call you a racist because we don't know what's in your mind. But you can point to my flag and say the word racist? Really? I'm telling y'all right now, we have reached the level of maturity where we are ready to enter into the court of law to protect our good name, and protect our good name we will do. Understand that from this day forward, if you want to know who we are, come to us. We don't have no problem telling you. We're not hiding. We are a legitimate path to God, and we've proven it because we had to. You know why? Because you persecuted us. In 2014, we are the only path to God still being persecuted here in America. In this time of tolerance and understanding, where you want us to accept all kind of things, but yet you want to be able to reject how we see and love and honor God? I think not. I'm not going to be distracted. I keep my eyes on the prize, not Jay-Z. This is my flag that you're talking about. Jay-Z is not a problem. Jay-Z is still a black man that we as a nation can sit down and speak to in regard to him wearing our flag. He's not a problem. His achievements are astounding. And just for hip-hop's sake, Jay-Z didn't pick up a rag, he picked up the flag. Because New York City is the city of the gods. That's what it's always been. It's not a gang city. It's not the city of gangs. And he was letting hip-hop know that. And hip-hop needs to hear that. We're about self-improvement, not self-destruction. But years ago, we had a song, "You're headed for self-destruction." And with record companies promoting the messages of the self-destruction, it's taking place at an alarming rate in our communities. We're bringing the knowledge back. Kicking knowledge ain't corny no more. Everything is coming full circle. There's no need to fear the truth. The truth shall set you free. I know one thing is going to save my babies. So try as you might to get them to fail to let us teach them, because you call us dirty names. Try as you might. This one video will crush all your lies. Because the truth is seen and heard everywhere. Because it's pure. It's uncut. It's unadulterated. I speak only to reinforce the reality of who we are and to dispel the lies, trick knowledge, innuendo, and straight up lies that you talk about, because we are not those things that you say we are. And I don't care if you wrote it in a book, I don't care if you said it on TV, I don't care if you wrote it in a newspaper. From this day forward, we will be holding you responsible for slander and defamation of character. Once again, this is a universal statement. My name is Born King of Law. I am the Executive Director of the National Office of Cultural Affairs, and the Nation of Gods and Earths has a professional office that is here to protect its integrity. Remember, words have power. Don't use your newspapers to endanger people who have done no wrong. Don't do that. The Nation of Gods and Earth speaks for itself. With that, peace.